Hello and welcome back for anyone that watched my last video, and for any newcomers, welcome. Hello and welcome back, and thanks for coming back. Filming my second ever video, and I definitely planned on jumping straight into the creative side of things, which I wasn't expecting to do just so quickly. I am sorry that my video is a few days late. I will be continuing to post on a bi-weekly schedule, following the same schedule as if I were to post this previous Sunday. 2 weeks from now, I will have another video. But jumping right into things. So I'm going to an event this week, literally tomorrow. I've had a lot of time to prepare for this, since before the holidays at least. And it's being hosted by Gotham Geek Girl and Filter Off, and it's a cosplay Winter Wonderland gala. So think red carpet, nerdy twist, and that is completely right up my alley because I love not wearing cosplay, you know? I also will be making my own gown, which is kind of the purpose of this video. You're going to see some of the process behind all of that, and I'm very excited to show it all to you. I went out, I bought my fabric literally last Friday, so this is being posted on Thursday. The event is tomorrow, and I'm filming this. You know what? We've all been there. We've all done the con crunch where we tried to do a cosplay the night before, 2 days before. Heck, 1 year for my birthday for New York Comic Con, I wanted to be Starfire, and I was so determined that I literally made that costume in less than 10 hours. I spent a few hours on it 2 days before and then the Wednesday before, so that way when Thursday rolled around and it was my birthday, I showed up as Starfire. I haven't been that chaotic since 2017, so you know what? It's 2023, let's jump back into it. So in the spirit of jumping back into things, I'm going to show you my not finalized sketch, just because as I was sketching it and then I started sewing it all together, a lot of changes needed to be had or made because I only gave myself 1 week to do this. 1 week. So here's kind of what the sketch looked like. I do pre-make all of my croquis, and then I just keep a stack of them ready for when I want to do another fashion illustration. As you can see, super deep, flowy, slit, giving sultry. I don't know if that's how this dress turned out, but it was my first time making a gown in a long time, and I really hope you guys go easy on me. But go ahead and give the video a watch. Take a look at my process through creating and tell me what you think. I started off with a sketch I drew on my tablet. It is not an iPad, just so you know. It's a Samsung. I feel like Procreate and Adobe are haters at the moment because they haven't given any good drawing apps to Samsungs, but if you know any, then please let me know. But I drew this all on Autodesk Sketchbook, or the Autodesk Sketch app, which is really great if you're just looking to draw on your phone, i.e. Samsung Android phone or Samsung tablet. Being for real. Anyway, the original gown idea that I wanted was a deep cowl neck in like this icy blue color with a gold cross in the front that makes that little X-Men logo X. I wanted to do the shoulder pads. I was gonna go in and bead all of it, but I gave myself 1 week to make this, so I had to be realistic. So anyway, this is the gown, and it felt so good to be drawing again because I haven't taken the time to really enjoy this craft. Now comes what I consider the easiest part, pattern making. In order to do this, I just really have to set my mind to it and make sure that everything is going to come out well. So right here, I am making the pattern for the skirt, and since the skirt is going to have a lot of body and a lot of fullness, I don't necessarily need it to fit exactly to my measurements because I'm making it extra wide so that way I can gather all of that excess fabric so I get all these really nice shearing along the waist that gives it extra body. And I also love the way that that sits at my waist, especially since the cowl is going to be very deep and very clean. I just wanted to give some extra body in this dress since it's not going to be a form-fitting dress. Obviously, there's a lot more that goes into pattern making than just making the skirt. I did also make the bodice for the back, make the lining patterns. Among all that, I don't have footage of every single thing that I've made. So for this, I am making a large strip for that X because I wanted to originally drape that and put it on the bias, but it didn't make sense to drape it. So I just made a giant pattern piece so that way it would be cut along the bias and then give me that room to really form to my body and lay down on my chest and back and support the rest of the dress. And there I am kind of draping or preparing my dress form to be ready to drape because the cowl I plan on cutting on the bias, and I wanted to make sure that it was ready for when I wanted to make sure I get that really deep flowing billowy cowl on there. As you can see, I've got my quilting ruler kind of mapping out the new grain line for the bias to go on and my center front. I've also measured just how wide I actually want it to be when it ends up laying on my body. I know it's not exact because when it goes on my body, it's going to be a little different. But as I do, I just kind of add a little bit more in, so the center really drops. But I did make a bit of a mistake here and I accounted for width, but I didn't account for depth of the additional fullness at my chest. So I had to make a few corrections while sewing. And now I've marked out the pattern to where I want it to sit. I've graded it up so that way it sits along my waist and chest nicely. And then I'll fold it in half, trace the other side so it's an exact match, and then cut all of that out. And you'll see as this happens. And don't forget to add your seam allowances. Now I'm draping the back of the bodice, which I also made a little mistake here too, but you can see if you catch it. But I drape it because the back, this should be for the lining, and then I want it to again fit my body. So here I am mapping it out and now straightening or adding definition to the lines and then grading it up so that way it fits me. Making sure my side seams all match. I love cutting like this. And here's where I made the mistake. Did you catch what I did? I only made one pattern for the back, and then I cut it up so that way I could add the extra gathers for the back bodice. And now I no longer have a back pattern, which I realized a little too late, and then had to tape it all back up after I made the second pattern, so that way I would then have a pattern for my lining, because the lining will not have shirring. And again, just adding my seam allowances and labeling all my patterns, because I hate when I've made something and then I realize I didn't label a single pattern, so now I'm stuck trying to figure out what's what and where is where. And here I am, reducing the front bodice about like 3 or so inches, and that's going to become the lining for my front cowl. I pin it onto my pattern paper, and then I'm going to trace it and then reduce the total height of it by like 3 inches, add seam allowance to that, and then fold it in half and cut, so that way it is mirrored on both sides. I realize now I probably shouldn't have fabric scissors and paper scissors that are both the same color right next to me. But here I am fixing the mistake that I made of not doing an extra pattern piece for the back bodice. I also made a checklist so that way I can check off all the things that needed to be done. It's never. Now for the part that I hate the most. Cutting fabric! Okay, so I've picked out all the colors. I am ready to dive in, so let's start pinning all this chiffon. And I hate the pins that I use. I need to find new pins. I just never want to go to the garment district to get the exact kind that I like. One day I'll head and venture my way in to pick up these pins. They're like really fancy, intimate, straight pins, not these ball pins. But anyway, I'm using my rotary cutter, which has a little nick in them, so I kind of go through with my scissors to clean those extra pieces that are holding on, just so that way I don't snag my fabric. And then I cut out the satin charmeuse just because they didn't have any poly lining fabric, and I figured charmeuse would be a much nicer fabric to line this gown with than those really stiff acetates. I just love this color so much. I think I got all of it from the fabric store that I went to, which I'll drop the link for that store, or like the address for that store. But I'm obsessed with this fabric. This color, it's so soft, it's so lush. Like the fabric feels silky. It's not silk, it's poly, but it just, you know when you're like eating ice cream and you know that it just feels really rich? I love this fabric so much. And here's the cowl lining that's being cut. Looks very curved, but that's gonna go along my waist. And here I made the mistake of cutting the cowl on the straight grain and not on the bias, and then I realized what I did after I cut the whole thing out. I'm so mad at myself for doing this. I literally cut the whole thing out and I was like, hold up, this isn't right. It's not right. So there, I went and I redid it. Literally made all the notches and everything. And now I'm just just going to kind of emulate what the gown's gonna look like. This is the right side. I switched dress forms just because while my measurements are closer to the other one, my body shape is closer to this one, and I'd rather have it look a little bit more proportionate to what it would look like sized up than the measurements. I don't know, it's just like a weird in-between game that I play with these dress forms. It gets frustrating. Now we're about to start sewing, so we are pinning all the side seams together because I will be doing French seams on everything just because that makes it so much easier. I love the way that looks, especially on fabric like this. I also hate the way that my overlock machine kind of overlocks things. I want to get a different one just because no matter what I've done, it never has the same clean finish as others I've used. So I press each seam open, flip it around, press it down, so that way when I go in to make my French seams, they are nice and crisp. I love a crisp French seam. Here is my workstation, which, as you can see, hot mess, drinking carrot juice in a fancy cup. But here's my machine. I love this machine. I got it a few years ago, and it's only ever kind of given up on me once, and that was just because I had done something wrong to it and I had to bring it in to get fixed. But it sews so smoothly, so quickly, you know, it just needs a little love and occasional cleaning and oiling. It's a Singer heavy duty machine. One day I would like to get one of those stationary, like old vintage Singers, just because, you know, as much as I love what these do, they do shift a bit. So now here I am attaching the neckline, which is so fun because it's almost done. All of that, I know I pretty much sped through this video, but I'm attaching the neckline, which is going to create that cross in the front, and that's all on bias. So I love working with bias tape, bias binding. It looks great. Of course, I'm still in like my outfit from physical therapy because I've been in physical therapy for the last few weeks and it's rough. Don't have tilted kneecaps, folks. And I trim all of that extra off, and then I'm going to go ahead at some point and attach the second piece. But that's all you're going to see for now because thank you again for watching my video. I really appreciate all the love and support that I got from my last video, and if you haven't watched it yet, I will link that down below. I will be posting again in 2 weeks, technically a week and a half, but there I will debut the gown and do a quick little recap of the event. Also, be sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel, and definitely subscribe to my other socials. I can't wait to share everything that I plan on creating this year. I've got something really fun planned up for the next video, so be sure to come back. And thank you again for watching. Bye!